Happy November 30th, huh?
Ooh, yeah. Yeah. Looking forward to anything that gets us closer to 2021.
Well, every day the sun rises and the sun sets, that's moving us toward it for sure. Yeah.
Here's Tucker.
Tucker, hello.
Well,
Tucker, do you want to add, do you want a topic? Tucker, do you have a topic for us in any way?
Yes, it's called Biting the Neighbors. That's his favorite topic, biting the neighbors. No, he's been.
Oh,
You had a quiet Thanksgiving.
Monty and I stayed home, had a perfect Thanksgiving. I did a traditional meal for the two of us. I set a table in a traditional way. We live here on the James River, so we, after our lunch, which is usually around 2, we have the Thanksgiving meal. We went out and took a long walk down the river, along the riverbank, where it's just woods. It's no one, and it's like, how lucky could we be? And then we came back and talked for about 5 hours to daughters and my brother. So we had the family end on that end of the day. But I told him that I loved the day because I got to experience so many of the things I'm grateful for.
Oh,
Yeah.
wonderful.
How about you and Mike? Oh, I'm sorry, go on.
No, we were just the two of us. Well, I worked in the morning because that's what I'm going to do for 2020. I'm going to just work every holiday.
Okay.
So much fun.
What a great way to just finish it off, huh?
Yeah. I you know what? I worked the holiday, and while I was working the holiday, I put in paperwork to take off the week of Christmas. Like,
Okay.
Enough, people, enough. So I worked, I came home around noon, and we had, the same thing. Mike is the chef in the house, so he made the traditional turkey dinner. And I think after we took the dogs for a walk, but I don't think we got to the river.
Oh, you're that close too.
Yeah, well, we can't walk to it. It's 4 miles away, but usually we throw the dogs in the Subaru and, go I don't know if we did because I had to work the next day and the next day. But yeah. And as you can tell in the house, we're still painting. So if it looks crazy in the background,
I didn't even think about it because I'm watching you.
Oh,
but you're painting. All right.
Yeah.
Hey, Kacey, I just thought of a new name for our show. We don't need a new name. We're so good. But from the Hudson to the James, that would make people wonder what we're talking about. But anyway.
From the Hudson to the James. I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. What we're talking about frequently is relationships.
Yes.
And disentangling and self-recovery.
Yes.
Or perhaps if you lose yourself in some relationship.
Yeah, right.
There are words today that we're going to discuss that's
okay.
Okay? So you talk about the circle of self-recovery, and I'm referring to the notes because I don't have the book handy, but it's page 36 in the book Disentangle. And you talk about this circle and share the words in the circle, and I'll tell you which one gives me pause.
Okay. So, Kacey, what I wanted to do, this is our 5th show, and I'm getting really good feedback. I'll just say it on the air. People are enjoying the way we interact and the way we talk. And I said, well, we're having a good time, as well. And what I wanted to do today is to start bringing in helpful ideas of what to do. We've talked about what entangled looks like. We've been looking at sources of it, why we do these things. And I'm a super practical woman. And I want people to have an idea of what do I do about this or that? So today I was proposing, and this is what we're going to do, that we look at 4 broad areas of what we're going to look at specifics as we go on with the show, but 4 broad areas of things that we can use, that we delve into to, as the book says, to disentangle, and as my new language says, to achieve self-recovery, to work on self-recovery. So this list of 4 things is not a list, and it's been evolving really since the mid-1990s. And I won't go into that history right now. But it's not a list you can check off things. I mean, I think often many of us love lists. We can say, well, I did that and I did that and I did that. And, you know, with due respect to the 12-step programs, even those programs, we aren't just checking off the steps. We actually go back over and work steps 1, 2, and 3 again, or whatever. And so Disentangle has these 4 areas. And for the second edition, I asked them to create a graphic that puts these 4 areas on it. And I'll give them to you, the audience, in case Kacey wants to comment on them. So the graphic, it's a circle. It's like a donut. Self is in center. Remember, I'm talking to Apple Podcast folks too. Hello. So the center is like self. And around it are 4 sections of these 4 areas we work in. One is illusions. I'm going to come back and talk about all of them. One is detaching, one is boundaries, and one is spirituality. And it's in a circle because we may be doing really well to not have any illusions, but boy, we're not working on boundaries at all. So we go, oh, let me see. Kacey, I see it as a road sign. That little image in the book and what I just described to the listeners is, I would call, a road sign. Self in the middle, illusions, detaching, boundaries, and spirituality around the outsides of it. And so what we're going to be doing over the bunch of shows is talking about things within each of those areas that help us for self-recovery. But let me turn it back to you. You wanted to comment on a word, and then we'll launch into what each of those mean.
The word that scares me is illusions and,
okay.
and delusions. Because
okay.
How do you know if you have illusions or delusions? You don't know. Who's going to tell you?
Right. Time and space and experience tells us. So thanks. Great lead. And it is the one that is, if we were doing it on a list, if you were reading the book, it is first. It has to do, I was in my own therapy I was a client in the mid-90s with a really great person who knew a lot about all of this. And she introduced me to this whole notion of illusions. And this is what she said. And her name is Toby Rice Drews. I'll gladly give, she has a number of books, self-help books from the 90s, 80s and 90s. And Toby said to me, Nancy, well, first of all, she said, you don't get it. And I said, no, I'm not getting it. And she said, illusions are the glue that hold all the crazy making together.
Oh.
So illusions are the glue that hold all the crazy making together. And so, Kacey, I'll go backwards. Illusions are, when I teach, it's inviting us to see the reality of things. Let me cut right to a phrase that our listeners can identify with. What we want to do is to be able to see what is true about myself, what is true about the other person, what is true about our situation. And in recovery language, that's sort of breaking through denial. Now, you asked the difference between an illusion and a delusion. And many times as I've been teaching this over the years, people say, well, what about hope? We don't want to not have hope. So how I teach it is, again, here comes the continuum. If I want to believe that a person in my life is going to make a change, let's not even make it significant others. This could be that, it could be a work people, but let's make it a friend. Let's make it a friend that I loan money to. Yeah. Okay, so I have loaned them a couple of $100 and they have said they're going to pay me back. And I go, okay, because 1, I believe it, and 2, I hope that they're going to too. Okay. Several months go by, no money comes, but a lot of reasons why they are addressing it, but something else had to be paid, or they didn't realize such and such was going to cost so much. Then they say, could you loan me another 100? I know I haven't paid you what I owe you, but let me pay you that. So I still want to believe I'm traveling down my continuum, but I still want to believe that they're going to pay me back. I like them. They've been nice to me. We've never dealt with money, but they always sort of do their part, or so it seems. So I loan them another 100. More time goes by, and not only are they not paying me back, but they're not mentioning it anymore. And it's starting to be on me to say, what about the money that you owe me? And so what is happening is I need to start seeing the reality here that they are not paying me my money back. Okay. And so as I see that, I want to, you know, I, I try real hard not to be judgmental. I just want to be factual. They owe me 300. They're not paying me 300. Okay. I want to take that in as a real piece of data. And one, say, oh, I think I'll make a decision to not loan any more money to them. And two, this is where where our life preserver circle, that's what I meant to mention. This image about the 4 areas looks like a life preserver. This is where we have to jump across to boundaries. It's sort of like, oh, I'm not going to get into that right now, but it's sort of like, oh, I'm probably going to have to bring this up. I'm probably going to have to ask for a specific payment agreement, how I'm going to enforce the payment agreement. That's going to be a problem. I'm going to have to be creative, but I can do that. But the reality is they're not paying me back. And so delusion would be where we would stick to that belief and just keep going down that continuum. The delusion is not accurately taking in the reality of things, what they say, what they do, how we feel, what we say, what we do. Data is in all of those things.
Okay. What are some qualities that you need to be able to see illusions and delusions?
Certainly, I would say, and these are top of my ingredients of change, certainly our awareness that how we may be feeling. Kacey, I don't know if I said this to you yet or not, but it's yet new language I'm going to have. We are all given great information to do self-care, and I'm all for that. But what we're talking about in this self-recovery work is even yet deeper than that. And it is, to answer your question, an opening up of myself to be willing to be aware that I feel bad, or I'm angry. I'm angry that the check didn't come, or I'm angry it wasn't transferred into my account. I want to be willing to be and aware. And I keep wanting to dance back and forth with both of those things.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Willing and aware, and willing to be aware, and how much it must hurt, say, for a parent to realize the child isn't doing what you'd like them to do.
It's
or
very hard.
A husband, or any relationship, to when you finally realize, wow, I've been in la la land because the relationship I'm having and the relationship they're having are in 2 different universes. That's so hard.
Yeah, it is. And you know, as you talk about it being parent to child, one of the big areas I've worked with are parents of adult children, meaning late 20s to 40-year-old, who the parents, for very good reasons, want to keep extending their finances and sharing their finances, right, sharing their extra rooms in their house, sharing their vehicles, extending that. And a lot of it's done with the hope that this time things will be different. And sometimes it does make the difference. See, that's why we can't just hand over a declaration that says it won't make a difference this time, don't try. People will extend, a parent will extend themselves to that child as much as they need to, but they must then start listening to how they themselves feel as the results come in. It is the results. How are the how are the results coming in here? And then be willing and have developed skills to adjust accordingly. Mm-hmm.
I know I've mentioned to you before the messages that come up on my phone several times a day to remind me of, life. And
Right.
one of the messages that pops up on my phone is, how do you feel right now and what do you really need?
Yes,
Because
yes.
I'm the type of person, they say fools rush in. I'm
Mm-hmm.
the type of person that will rush in. And
Right.
sometimes I'm all the way down the road before I realize, oh, you turn around and I'm the only one rowing the boat kind of thing. Like, you're going to pick up those oars or what? So that message to me encourages my willingness to be aware. Like, how am I feeling?
That's such a great image. That is such a great image. Yeah, not only are you the only one rowing, but I'm picturing people eating and throwing wrappers around and have their feet propped up, or or talking, texting. I don't know.
And enjoying the ride exactly.
Yes, and again, so let me round out what I'm saying. As we face what is true, it isn't just putting it on the other person.
Mm-hmm.
And my second edition, in my first edition, Kacey, I swear my recovery only had me sort of putting it on the other person, not in a blaming way, but seeing
Mm-hmm.
how they weren't coming through. And then I realized, oh, wait a minute, I have to see the extent to which I have been either not paying attention, forging ahead, saying, let's do it, and nobody else wanted to do it, so why are they helping? I have to look at my part
At your part.
in this illusion that I have created.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People are probably sick of hearing me tell this story, but I just went through a situation at work, and I may have mentioned it here. I don't know. It was all about boundaries and COVID.
Oh, I'm waiting to hear about it. Oh, go. Tell us. No, none of us have heard what's happened next.
Oh, well, I finally realized I was angry at myself
Oh,
for having
okay.
been the person who created the circumstances for
Okay.
people to have no boundaries around me. I had to say,
Yes.
this is my part. I'm
Yes.
Kacey Smiley Facey. I'll take care of it. No problem. Anything you
Right.
need, I'll do it. Right. And now I'm wondering why people don't have boundaries around me. Because
Yes.
I
Yeah.
never
Or keep handing you things.
Yeah. I never complained. So when I realized that my problem was caused primarily, I created the situation. I had a big hand in the situation.
Yes.
And I was able
Yes.
to say, okay, that's okay. I got you, because I'm very big on self-forgiveness. I'm here for me.
Good. That's wonderful.
Uh,
That's beautiful, because we need
a
to
long
be.
time. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
once I forgave myself, like, wow, yeah, you did do that, but you're growing. I was
Yes.
able to say what I needed.
Yeah.
And I put that out in an email, and everybody is now treating me the way I want to be treated, which is wear a mask, stay 6 feet away.
That's the part you were telling us about in the last show, because that was the day you had sent that email to your boss, and you didn't know how it was going to happen, what was going to happen from it. So, because I'm a storyteller, how did it unfold? Did anyone write you? I know your colleague said, yay, Kacey, thank you.
Yes. And
Did the boss say anything?
not really.
But
No.
did you have any negative fallout as a result of it?
No
See,
negative fallout.
that is so important, because that was, you and I were talking about that, and I think you were worried that the entangled you spoke up. And that's when I said, it's your uneclipsed self.
Right.
And she did not suffer for speaking up.
No. I love this new muscle.
Yeah.
I love this new muscle. It was always there. I just
Mm-hmm.
didn't want to take responsibility for using it.
Right, exactly. Well, Did you know it at that level that you did not want to take responsibility for using it?
No, I only knew that now when it came out of my mouth.
Okay.
So I'm going to have to write that down and go think about that for a while. Honey, I need you to sit in your own chair.
Because,
Bound together. This is a healthy boundary. You're going to sit in your own chair. Yeah. So, because it amazes me. One of the things I love to explore is what keeps people in relationships that aren't healthy or in relationships that are really lopsided. And in my case, I'm in those relationships because that's what I created.
yes, yes, yes. And for the listeners, what we're doing, it's great. Our circle of 4 areas. I love how we're doing it because we've shifted from illusions across the circle to boundaries. I like that we're not doing them in an order because I'm saying, hey, folks, we don't live them in an order. And so Kacey is you're giving beautiful examples of speaking up for you.
Yes. Now, let me
Hmm.
tell you, before I met you, who changed my life?
Hmm.
It was Caesar Milan, the dog whisperer.
Oh, tell us.
I
Yeah.
love his show. We would watch it, my husband and I, every night at 6 o'clock. I don't know if it's on anymore. His favorite phrase was rules, boundaries, limitations. Rules, boundaries, limitations. Your pets need them. They
Yes.
need them. And
Yes.
I realized, he would be the pack leader, but we all need to become the pack leader of our own lives.
Yes, we do.
And one of the biggest things for me is rules, boundaries, limitations.
Yes,
It's
that's the whole collection of them. Yes, and as I say in the book, we're not talking about building a wall between myself and another person. They are everything you just said: rules, boundaries, and limitations. And as I say in Disentangle, we do that when we play any game. I mean, we can't play a game without some parameters, and because no one would know who's doing what. And I think that's so true in whether it's our household lives, our relationship with our children, certainly our work environments, Kacey, our couplehood, and who's doing what and who's not, and when's good for me and when is not. I mean, all of those types of rules, boundaries, and limitations. I'll just repeat those because they cover a lot, right?
Thank you,
Hmm.
Caesar Milan.
They
So
sure do.
in this life preserver with self in the middle and illusions, detachment, boundaries, and what was the other one?
Spirituality.
Spirituality. Okay, I think we've covered illusions. Have we covered boundaries enough?
Yeah, we have, because we're going to talk about details of boundary setting. I'm looking up our life preserver. For those of you who are watching us on YouTube, I'm going to at least give it to you. Let's see. So,
Yeah,
Casey, how's that? Okay, there we are. How's that, Kacey, from your end?
beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. 4 areas of work.
Right. And just another general comment about boundaries. They're difficult. And when we talk about them, we'll look at I break it down into 3 areas of work to set them. And people we have to rethink boundaries. We feel like we're being rude, inconsiderate, unkind, unhelpful, a lot of negative things when we say no, or when we say that won't work for me. We feel like we need to say everything will work for us. And in fact, we're creating more tangles for ourselves. Boundaries really can create a smoother, clearer, calmer relationship environment.
Mhm.
They are so difficult. One of the retreats I run is a full weekend retreat. And Kacey, we took 4 camps, 4 weekends over the course of 2 years. We only meet twice a year. So on boundaries.
Yeah. Oh my God.
So
I
it,
love them. They're my favorite thing.
mhm,
My new
mhm.
favorite thing.
Yes, they are. And they show up in the smallest of ways. Someone wants to have a conversation with us right now, and it doesn't suit. We want to finish what we have done. Yeah, my brother texted me last night and he said, can we talk? And I knew that we were only going to be talking about stuff, Christmas stuff. I knew that I wanted to eat dinner early and go to bed by 10:30. And I knew if I added that conversation in, I wouldn't have time to I would be not on the schedule that has me being the healthiest. So I texted him back and I said, and again, we'll talk about it. No need to give tons of explanation. I just said, Dave, tomorrow would work a lot better at 11 a.m. or 4 p.m. What works for you? 4 p.m. So, that's a really good example of just a simple daily interactional boundary.
Yeah. And I would just encourage everybody to really play with this and practice it. I had a woman emailed or text me yesterday, and she says, I just need you on the phone for 5 minutes tomorrow. And when people try to get you on the phone,
okay,
they want to get you. You know what I mean?
Okay, you really know that because of the ways you work with the world. Yeah.
So I knew it's harder for me to say no, those 5 minutes on the phone. And I said, I knew that there was a pitch of some kind coming. I knew it was going to be a request of my time and services. And I said, honestly, I don't want to be on the phone tomorrow. I said, I've got Monday, I had 2 Zooms. Sunday, I had 2 Zooms. I said, if you could just send your request in an email, that would really be great for me.
Yes,
and
beautiful.
She did. She sent the email today, and I can't wait to write back and tell her, no, I cannot provide the services she wants.
Exactly. Kacey, these are great examples, because I'm sure folks listening to us are running into the same type of thing. And especially if we are thoughtful, responsible, considerate people, we walk around feeling like we have to be fully available and responsive. I mean, I know that I have to, almost every time I'm approached, do what you just described or I described. I really have to think through, no, wait a minute, I can tell by the way I'm feeling, I don't want to talk right now. But it's good, it's important that we do these things, and we're given opportunities many times in a day.
And the inner voice gets louder and clearer and more simplified. That inner voice
Isn't that beautiful?
That says,
yes,
this isn't what's best for you. You don't have time for this, or this isn't a good fit. It becomes almost instantaneous, and you can feel it. I can feel it like full body. My yes is a full body yes. My no is a full body no.
Kacey, yeah. I think that's a beautiful illustration of the awareness and willingness. It's almost like, as you're talking, it makes me think like we've turned on that channel and in you, and it's the Kacey channel, and it's like, oh, I hear her.
I hear her. I hear her. And she has an opinion.
And it's loud, it's clear, it's strong, it's a good signal.
Good signal, always. It's true, it's true. Can we move to detaching, because this is a tricky one?
Yeah, so I'm citing my sources here today. So I learned the word detaching through Al-Anon, which is for family and friends of alcoholics. And then I took the word and melded it with counseling ideas of how we do it. So detaching is not, as I, in a workshop, I would say, it's not like we get a bill and we detach the bottom part from the top part and send them different ways. It's not that. It is an emotional centering, is how I'm putting it now, an emotional balance that I'm wanting to get, because usually if I'm entangled with someone, I'm having whether they can see it or not, I'm having a strong emotional reaction, like, I can't believe they're asking me this again. Or, why would I want to do that? Or, yeah, sure, right, you'll pay me back. Okay, so I'm having these reactions, and what I want to do is be able to detach, which means to recently I was thinking, again, I love talking about it because it always gives more language. What I'm wanting to do is to quiet my emotional, not quiet, but center it so I can experience a range of the feelings that I'm having about what's going on. And I can bring up and listen to my thoughts about it. I can equalize thoughts and feelings and maybe body also, what it's telling me, because I've gotten this emotional centering. I've moved out of being, another way I put it, from being reactive to
Mm,
being responsive, to not being impulsive, but to being intentional.
right. I
Mhm.
I have a family member in whose life I was entangled. I'm not sure if that was proper English, but I was entangled in a family member's life.
Yeah.
I would wake up in the morning and I would think about him before I think about me, right? And then I would be several calls a day. How is this person doing? And giving money and giving things and giving ideas and sending books and sending ideas. I was so entangled in this young person's health,
Okay.
mental health. Um, I was not doing anything that he needed, right? He didn't need any things that I was sending. But
Yeah, he
I,
wasn't asking either,
yeah,
just as a note.
but I was loving in a misplaced way, right? I was wanting to do something. And I had to, the phrase that I added to detach is detach with love.
Yes,
I
yes.
love him. I want him to be well, but I need to detach because all of this stuff that I'm sending him isn't helping him. And it was just keeping me in a bit of a frenzy.
But
So
what woke you up? That's always such an important question. Do you what do you think, or what do you know made you start stepping back? And it is, we can also look at it that way, as a stepping back, a stepping out. Everything you described sounds like you moved into that family system. It's like you left your own and you moved in
I
with
did.
them.
I
Yes.
did. Emotionally, I moved into their family system.
Right, exactly, Casey. And no, that's what I meant. I knew you didn't literally, but we might as well.
Yeah,
Well, I mean, let's not go there.
let's not.
So what woke you up that you had gone far further than you wanted to in helping?
When I realized it wasn't growing a love relationship.
Oh,
You know what I mean?
with
Like
him, with
with
the,
him, or with the family in general. Like I was giving so much of what I thought was love, like loving thoughts and loving ideas and loving worry and loving, and I didn't get any love back. And it just must have been a pause, because I don't think it was anything dramatic, that it didn't feel good,
yeah,
right? I was giving out, but I wasn't getting anything back that
yeah,
felt good.
yeah.
Not that
No,
I wanted a thank you or anything like that, but I just realized this is all landing with a thud.
right. And again, you face those illusions that I'm going to, as we teach here, that beautiful story, because your hopes, see, illusions start as hopes. You weren't elusive or delusional to begin with. You were hopeful. Okay.
Right.
And then you started hearing this thud,
Mm,
hearing this thud and probably feeling the thud. I usually, if there's a thud, it reverberates in our body. And yeah. And then though, how did you, so you made a choice to do what? Step back, but
step
then,
back.
and what, okay. And back, all the way back out of the picture, or what did you do? How did it
All
go?
the way back out of the picture. All the
Okay.
way back out of the picture was the only proper response.
Okay.
It really was. The
Yes.
only
Yeah.
proper response.
Be-
And nobody's calling saying, hey, where are you? I got my affirmation. Honey, you got to sit in your own chair.
I'll be ding dang.
Yeah, yeah. And what we have now feels good because it's honest and real.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's true. It's honest and real For both, all parties.
For both, for all parties, for all,
For all parties.
and
Yeah.
everybody knows if they need me, I'm here.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
So let me take the story in a just a teaching way. An entanglement could have ensued in that type of story if you I'll just keep it being you. If now I'm going to move it away from you. If a person doing that wasn't willing to see the reality of it,
mhm.
and wanted to thought, oh, more is needed. And Kacey, we can do that. More is what's needed. I mean, a lot of us suffer from more is what's needed, you name it. And so, more time, more books, more calls, more whatever. And then the entanglements really hop off, and perhaps an argument with that person who's not giving anything back, and we are tangled and we're trying to wring it out of someone who it's just not there. And so yes, our mission is to start with hope, start with interest, start with love, and then as we travel, see what the reality is and allow ourselves to experience it. And the detaching is where we step back and really see what's going on. And as I say in the first page of Disentangle, it doesn't mean that we're necessarily going to leave, divorce, or end a relationship. That's why I ask you where it went. And I don't want the listeners to think it has to end there. Maybe boundaries and spirituality can help the whole thing be different. But we definitely do not want to be running around being reactive and impulsive and preoccupied.
Right. That reactive, compulsive, preoccupied, that was me for only like 45 years. And then I snapped right out of it. Let's talk about spirituality, because I don't know the 12 steps well, other than I am an avid observer. I think I might have mentioned in 1985, I might have mentioned in one of our shows, a friend of mine went into rehab. I don't think I told you this. A friend of mine went into rehab, and the sister went to visit him and came back with a Hazelden book.
Yes, yes.
I think Melanie Beatty wrote the
Yeah,
book.
oh yeah, sure.
Right?
Likely.
And
very likely.
She brought me a copy. She's like, you got to read this book. We were waitresses in the same bar, okay? And everyone around us, it was the 80s. Everybody was drinking. That's all we did. So she's like, you got to read this. This really hit home. And I read the book, and actually it made me so angry I kicked it when I was done with it. Like, it was such a wake-up call as to the family that I grew up in, and you could just see the patterns. Anyway, I became a big fan of the 12 steps, and I've read a lot of material. Now, the man that I married is now 23 years sober. I never knew him when he was not sober. We met when he was 9 years sober, and I married him because he could speak the 12-step language.
Wow.
My favorite language.
Yes.
So when it comes to all of this type of healing and self-recovery, I think I'm going to let you explain the 12 steps, or I'd love for you to explain steps 1 and 2, because that's what does it for me. Steps 1 and 2. There's a whole lot of spirituality right there.
Right. Yeah. So, as I do with your questions, that's great. I'll back up a little bit and say that spirituality on our life preserver wheel can be what anyone determines it to be for themselves. So that's really important. I also say to people, if you really are bothered by that word, you can, take it off the wheel. But I feel like spirituality can be anything from, and I'm working my way to the 12-step program, but anything from whatever our religious faith is that is important to us, and it's learning how to apply it and live out of it as much as possible, to people who find going to meetings their spirituality, being in nature their spirituality, just a number of things, silence, anything that allows, now I'm moving toward 12 steps, us to believe that there is something greater than self. in operation, something greater than self. And again, because I want to encompass it for as many listeners as possible, that greater than self could also be, I'm going to twist it out here, within self. Okay, so I'm not going to comment on that, but it is to say that we may be carrying our own spiritual light within ourself, and we just want to not get too attached to our own to our own notions and beliefs of how a day needs to be or who we are or whatever. It's something greater than ourselves. So I'm going to move away from that topic right now. Yeah, steps 1 and 2 are us in the program coming to see how our lives are, one, unmanageable is a really important word in that. And then we come to believe that a power greater than ourselves can restore that sanity. Okay.
Right.
So I think that how I take all of this and put it into Disentangle, and it goes so well with entanglements, is the serenity prayer itself, which says, God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And yes, the 12-step programs hold that, use it in a beautiful, beautiful ways. And I never used it, Kacey, in my life till I was involved with the 12-step fellowship. But I use it in counseling all of the time, because I think that often in our entangled relationships, we're trying to control what we cannot, which is called the other person, and we're not controlling what we can, which is ourself. And so, and very often an entanglement we will start seeing does involve us trying to control something we no longer have control over. And I think spirituality comes in then, again, for those of you who are just a podcast, I'm sort of holding my hands stacked on each other, because spirituality is, we have to let go of those things that we cannot control. And spirituality, however each of us conceive of it, is partly what I'm letting go to. Letting go to their higher power, letting it go to their spirituality, letting go to them to take care of themselves,
Right.
and reconnecting with my own self and my spirituality.
And for people who have no spirituality, you can say you're just releasing it to the great void, because
Beautiful. Yes.
sometimes
Yes.
just saying, okay, take this void. I'm making a mess of things aren't improving. Throw it into the void and see
Right.
what happens, and just let it be for a while. That is detaching.
That's beautiful. And as you're saying that, I'm imagining the universe, and just, the universe is so vast and endless, and just, letting it go out into the void or the universe. Yes. Yes. I do find that my choice to believe in a power greater than myself also offers comfort. But notice that I think that all of this with the spirituality is only one of the 4 areas. All of this, Kacey, this sort of takes us back to wrap it up, I guess, for today. Yes, I'm paying attention to time here. It is an important piece, but it alone, no one of these 4 elements alone do I feel like help us to disentangle and work on self-recovery. I think it, again, illusions, detaching, boundaries, and spirituality interplay.
Absolutely.
As we regain our sanity.
You can bounce around like a ping pong ball. You need them all. They're all good nutrition. Now I have to ask, your Monty is from Mamaroneck, New York.
Right. Yes.
He's a New York Yankee fan.
Do you know, he hasn't, well, we'll say yes, but he doesn't follow him that much.
Well, the New York Yankees have a sign in their dugout. I think it's still there. It was in the old stadium. And it's a sign that says, "I thank the good Lord for making me a Yankee." I don't know. One of the old time Yankees said that. And as the players come out of the dugout, they hit that sign. Or
Yes.
maybe going into the dugout. Maybe that's where it is. And they touch the sign. I have, going down my stairs into the basement laundry room, I have a sign that's came to believe. Step 2, came to believe
Yes.
the power that could restore
Great.
sanity. So I wanted you to tell Monty, but if he's not a Yankee fan, he won't catch the reference. But
Oh, well, I will have a full conversation about this.
yeah.
Came to believe, though. That's great, Kacey. Yeah.
And
No.
it's just a reminder that you know, whether it's the great void or the great spirit or whatever, if I'm carrying something with me into the laundry room, I can let it go.
Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely. Beautifully put. Beautifully put. Yeah. And it lightens the load that we carry, and I don't know. It there's just a lot of peace with it. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, I think Ella just fell off the couch. That's the black pug.
From falling in her sleep.
It sounded like that. I heard a thud. I got 2 fawn pugs here, and the black pug, I think, just fell off the couch.
So Kacey, we're doing great on our YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. And I just want to remind listeners, if they want to email us at nancyandkacey@gmail. That's Nancy and A-N-D Kacey at Gmail with questions or topics. That's the spot.
That's great. That's wonderful. All right, we'll get together next week. What are we talking about next week?
Well, I have a list about either ingredients of change, Nancy's ingredients of change, or things the basics of disentangling. I think we may talk about basic ingredients of change, because today we started awareness and willingness. I think we'll pick up with that. So how about ingredients of change next week?
I look forward.
Oh, Kacey, same here. Same here.
Good.
Take good care.
You too, and I'll talk to you next week.
Okay, absolutely, yes. Okay, bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.